The battlefield was quiet now. Smoke curled into the bruised sky, carrying the sharp stench of burned metal and scorched earth. Broken ships smoldered across the field, their twisted hulls glowing faintly in the dying light. Among the wreckage, a young alien warrior knelt in chains, her chest heaving, her body bruised but unbroken. Her name was Enya, of the Kelith. She had been raised from birth to hate humans, to see them as ruthless conquerors who destroyed everything in their path. Every lesson, every drill, every scar drilled the same truth into her. If a human ever caught her, death would be swift. Now, with her hands bound and knees pressed into the ash, Enya was certain her end had come. Footsteps crunched over debris. She lifted her head and saw him, a human soldier walking slowly toward her. His armor was battered, his face streaked with soot, but his eyes burned steady and cold. In his hand was a blade, its edge glinting in the firelight. Enya's violet eyes widened. Her people had warned her about this moment. Humans never showed mercy. Humans killed their enemies without hesitation. She braced herself, her chin lifting in defiance. "Do it," she spat, her voice sharp though her throat ached. "End me like you ended the rest." The human stopped before her. For a long moment he said nothing. The only sound was the hiss of burning metal and her own ragged breathing. Then he raised the blade. Enya's heart pounded. Her muscles tensed. She closed her eyes, waiting for the pain, waiting for the final strike, but it never came. Instead, the human's voice broke the silence. Calm, steady. "What's your name?" Enya's eyes flew open. She stared at him in disbelief. "My name?" He lowered the blade slightly, his gaze fixed on her. "I asked what they call you." Her chest tightened. This wasn't how it was supposed to go. Her people had promised humans didn't ask questions. They only killed. "You mock me," she hissed. "Strike, coward." But the human didn't move to kill her. He crouched, bringing his eyes level with hers. "If I wanted you dead, you would be. But I'm not here for that." Enya's mind whirled. Was this some trick? A cruel game before the end? She searched his face, expecting to see bloodlust. Instead, she saw something worse, pity. Her pride flared. "Do not look at me like that, human. I am Kelith. I am a warrior." "Then act like one," he said quietly, "and tell me your name." For the first time in her life, Enya faltered. Her lips parted, but no words came. She should have stayed silent. She should have kept her pride, but against her will, her voice slipped out, trembling. "Enya." The human nodded once, as if the name mattered. "I'm Marcus." He lowered the blade fully, sliding it back into its sheath. Enya blinked, stunned. Her heart hammered against her ribs. Why don't you kill me?" Marcus straightened. His voice was firm, but there was no cruelty in it. "Because I'm not here to destroy you. I'm here to end the cycle. Killing you would only feed it." Her breath caught. She wanted to laugh, to curse, to spit in his face. But all she could whisper was, "You lie." "You must." Marcus shook his head. "You'll see soon enough." The silence between them grew heavy. Enya's body trembled, not with fear, but with confusion. She had expected pain. She had expected the cold embrace of death. Instead, she was left alive, shackled not by chains, but by a question that clawed at her mind. "Why spare me?" As Marcus motioned for her to stand, Enya felt her defiance waver for the first time. Her people had warned her humans were monsters. But what monster lowered its blade when victory was certain? The thought unsettled her more than death ever could. The march through the battlefield was slow. Enya's wrists were bound in human cuffs, glowing bands of energy that pulsed faintly against her blue skin. They did not hurt, but the weight of them pressed heavily on her pride. Around her, human soldiers moved among the wreckage, gathering survivors, tending to their wounded. She watched closely, expecting cruelty. Surely after victory, the humans would mock their enemies, strip them, and leave them to rot. But instead, she saw something else. Soldiers knelt beside their injured foes, bandaging wounds, carrying both human and alien alike to the medical tents. One young human gave his own ration to a starving captive. Another used his cloak to cover a shivering enemy child. Enya's steps faltered. This was wrong. This was impossible. Humans were monsters. Her people had sworn it. Yet here they were, healing the ones they had just fought. Marcus, walking just ahead of her, glanced back. "Keep moving." Her violet eyes narrowed. "Why? To see more of your tricks? You play at kindness to break us," he didn't slow. "If you believe that, watch closer." No one ordered them to help. "They chose to." Enya clenched her teeth. Her pride wanted to spit back a cruel retort, but her eyes betrayed her. She couldn't stop watching. Couldn't stop doubting. By nightfall, she was led into a human encampment. The air was thick with smoke and the scent of stew. Fires crackled between rows of tents, casting long shadows. Enya was pushed onto a bench near the edge of camp, her cuffs still glowing. Marcus set down a bowl of food in front of her. The steam rose warm into the cool night. She sneered. Poison? Soup, he replied simply, taking his own bowl and sitting across from her. He drank deeply, unbothered. If I wanted you dead, I'd have left you on the field. Her pride bristled. Better death than shame. Marcus studied her quietly. You say that now. But your people need survivors. Even warriors. Her chest tightened. She thought of the others, her squad mates, her kin. Their faces flashed in her mind, many already gone. The weight of survival pressed heavy, but she refused to show weakness. You know nothing of the Kelith, she hissed. He shrugged. Maybe not. But I know enough to see you're more than just an enemy. You're someone worth sparing. Her throat tightened. She looked away, the firelight flickering across her face. Worth sparing. No human had ever said such words in her presence. Later, as the camp quieted, Enya sat beneath the stars. Her cuffs hummed softly, a constant reminder of her capture. Yet her thoughts kept circling the same question. Why spare me? She thought of the blade hovering above her throat, the moment she had closed her eyes, ready for death, and the voice that had asked not for her silence but for her name. Marcus approached, a blanket in his hands. He set it beside her without a word. She eyed it suspiciously. Another trick? No trick, he said softly. You're cold. Her lips curled. Better to freeze than owe comfort to a human. He didn't argue. He only walked away, leaving the blanket behind. Enya stared at it for a long time. Her pride screamed to push it into the fire. Yet when the night wind cut through her thin uniform, she found her hands pulling it around her shoulders. She hated herself for the relief it brought. In the days that followed, Enya remained a prisoner in the camp. But she saw more than she wished. She saw humans repairing shelters for captured families, sharing medicine, burying the dead of both sides with the same quiet respect. Each act chipped away at the wall she had built inside. And each night, when Marcus brought her food, she asked the same question. Why? And each night he gave the same answer. Because ending a life is easy. Changing one is harder, and I'd rather do the hard thing. Her pride could not accept it. But her heart was beginning to wonder if the lies she had been taught about humans were the true poison all along. The human camp bustled with quiet order. Soldiers moved between tents, carrying supplies, repairing gear, tending to the wounded. Enya sat apart, her wrists still bound, watching it all with sharp, restless eyes. Every kindness she saw, every act of mercy, clashed with everything she had been taught. Her people's stories had painted humans as butchers, their hands forever stained with blood. Yet these men and women were not butchers. They were builders, healers, protectors. It unsettled her more than chains ever could. Marcus returned from patrol, dust streaking his armor. He carried no blade in his hand, only a water flask. Without asking, he set it beside her. Enya's lip curled. You treat me like a guest. Am I not your prisoner? Marcus crouched, his gaze steady. You're both. Captive, yes. But alive. What you do with that life is up to you. Her pride flared. Do not speak as though you've given me a gift. He didn't flinch. I didn't. I gave you a chance. There's a difference. His calm words struck deeper than anger ever could. That night, Enya tested him. When Marcus brought food, she shoved the bowl away, spilling broth into the dirt. Do you see me as some helpless creature? I will not eat from your hand like a pet. Marcus only sighed, setting another bowl on the ground. Then eat when you're ready. Her violet eyes narrowed. Why not strike me? Why not teach me obedience like the monster you are? He met her glare without blinking. Because I'm not the monster you think. The words lingered long after he walked away. 2 days later, the test became real. Before dawn, horns split the air. Enya jerked awake to the sound of shouts and clashing steel. Shadows poured into the camp, raiders, scavengers who preyed on war's aftermath. The camp erupted into chaos. Humans scrambled for weapons, defending the wounded and unarmed. Fires sprang up, sparks flying into the night. Marcus burst into her tent, blade drawn. On your feet. Enya rose, her cuffs glowing. You think I will fight for humans? He thrust a knife into her hands, his expression fierce. No, I think you'll fight for yourself. Unless you'd... Rather die waiting for someone else to save you. Her chest tightened. He was giving her a weapon. Trusting her, even bound, even hating him. She gripped the knife, her voice low. Fool. But when a raider crashed into the tent, tusks gleaming, Enya moved. Her blade struck first, catching the attacker across the arm. Marcus finished him with a swift thrust, then nodded once. Not bad. Her pride stung at the approval, but her heart pounded with something else. Relief. Together they fought their way through the camp. Marcus moved with practiced precision, every strike measured and efficient. Enya's movements were rough, clumsy with the cuffs limiting her. Yet each time she faltered, Marcus's blade filled the gap. At one point, a raider lunged from the shadows, aiming for her back. Marcus shoved her aside, taking the blow across his arm instead. He hissed in pain but countered, driving the enemy down. Enya froze, staring at him. He had taken the wound meant for her. Again. Why? She gasped. He wiped blood from his sleeve, his jaw tight. Because I chose to. Her throat closed around the words she wanted to speak. By dawn, the raiders fled, leaving bodies and smoke in their wake. The human camp was battered but standing. Soldiers tended to wounds, rebuilt fires, buried the dead. Enya sat apart once more, the knife still in her hands. She stared at it, the weight unfamiliar yet strangely comforting. Marcus approached, his arm bandaged. He crouched beside her. You had the chance to kill me tonight. You didn't. Why? Her violet eyes flicked to his, burning with pride and confusion. Because... She hesitated, her voice trembling. Because you shielded me first. Marcus gave a faint smile. Then maybe we're starting to understand each other. Enya looked away quickly, clutching the knife tighter. Her people had told her humans were only killers. But this human again and again chose something different, and for the first time she wasn't sure if she hated him, or if she feared what it meant that she didn't. The air was thick with smoke as dawn broke over the battered camp. The humans had driven off the raiders, but not without losses. Soldiers moved slowly among the wreckage, repairing tents, carrying the wounded, and burying their dead. Enya sat silently near the edge of camp, her cuffs glowing faintly as always. Her hands still remembered the weight of the knife Marcus had given her, though he had taken it back once the battle ended. The memory unsettled her, because she had fought not just to survive but to stand beside him. She told herself it was necessity. Nothing more, but the whisper in her heart said otherwise. By midday, the scouts returned with grim news. The raiders were regrouping. A larger force was marching through the hills, planning to strike again. Marcus stood with the officers, his bandaged arm stiff at his side. If they come at us now, we'll break. We need to move the wounded before they surround us. Before plans could be set, horns echoed from the ridges. Arrows rained down and the camp erupted in chaos. Soldiers scrambled to defend the perimeter. Marcus grabbed Enya's arm. Move. They ran through the smoke, weaving between burning tents. A blast shook the ground, throwing them both into the dirt. When Enya lifted her head, the camp was a storm of fire and steel, and Marcus was already dragging her to her feet. Not that way. He shouted over the din. Follow me! They broke through the camp's edge, pursued by raiders. Marcus fought fiercely, his knife flashing, his movements precise. Enya grabbed a fallen spear, swinging clumsily but with fury. Together they pushed into the forest deeper and deeper, until the sounds of battle faded into silence. Only when they collapsed against the roots of a massive tree did Enya realize they were alone. No camp, no soldiers, only the two of them in the vast shadowed wilderness. Her violet eyes narrowed. This is your plan? To drag me into the wild? Marcus leaned back against the trunk, wiping sweat from his brow. It wasn't a plan. It was survival. Her lips curled. You humans survive by running? He gave a faint smirk despite his exhaustion. We survive by living to fight another day. His calmness irritated her. Yet beneath her scorn, a strange comfort settled in her chest. Alone in the wilderness, she should have feared him most of all. But she didn't. They moved cautiously through the forest, the glow of fungi lighting their way. Enya's gown snagged on branches, her pride stinging with each tear. Marcus said nothing, though once he cut away a snagged hem with his knife. Do not touch my clothes, she snapped, snatching the fabric from his hands. He shrugged. Then keep tripping. Her cheeks flushed violet. Arrogant human. But she walked easier after that. By nightfall, they found a shallow cave. Marcus sparked a fire while Enya sat stiffly, arms wrapped around her knees. The silence between them stretched long. Finally, she broke it. Why didn't you leave me? You could have run faster without me. Marcus looked up from the flames, his eyes steady. Because I told you I spared your life. That means I see it through. Her chest tightened. You speak as though my life belongs to you. He shook his head. No, it belongs to you. I'm just making sure you still have it. The words cut through her pride like a blade. For the first time, she didn't argue. Later, as the fire crackled low, Inya whispered into the shadows. When you raised your blade that first day, I thought you would end me. I welcomed it. Better death than chains. Marcus's voice was quiet. And now? Her violet eyes shimmered in the firelight. She hesitated, the truth burning on her tongue. Now, I do not know what I would welcome. Death seems easier than this. Confusion, he nodded slowly. Confusion means you're starting to see. Starting to choose. She stared at him, her throat tight. And if I choose wrong? Marcus met her gaze. Then you'll learn. That's what makes you free. Her breath caught. Free. It was a word her people used often, yet never had it sounded so heavy or so real. That night, she lay awake in the cave, listening to Marcus's steady breathing. The human who should have killed her now slept only an arm's length away, trusting her not to strike. Her pride whispered that she should. Her heart whispered otherwise, and for the first time in her life, she wondered if perhaps the greatest chain she had ever carried was not these cuffs, but the lies she had been taught about humans. The forest stretched endless, shadows twisting under the canopy of blackwood trees. By morning, the fire in their cave had dwindled to ash. The cold pressed in, biting Inya's skin even through the cloak Marcus had placed over her. She stirred awake, her violet eyes narrowing as she realized what he'd done. Part of her wanted to throw the cloak aside, to snarl that she had no need of his charity, but the warmth clung to her shoulders, steady and comforting. Her pride wavered, and for once she left it where it was. Marcus crouched at the cave mouth, running his knife across a stone. Each scrape echoed in the quiet dawn. His movements were precise, practiced. Do you sharpen that blade because you expect me to turn it against you? Enya asked, her voice low and sharp. He glanced over his shoulder. No, I sharpen it because the wild doesn't care who we are. Beasts will come. Hunger will come. Better to be ready. Her lips pressed tight. The answer wasn't what she expected. By midday, hunger gnawed at them both. Marcus scavenged roots and berries, testing them with careful eyes. He offered some to Enya, but she hesitated. You could poison me easily this way, she said, suspicion in every word. Marcus bit into one of the berries himself, chewing slowly. If I fall dead, then you'll know. She stared at him in disbelief. You mock your own life so casually. He shrugged. Life's always a gamble. I'd rather you eat than starve out of pride. Her cheeks flushed faint violet. She snatched the berries from his hand and ate quickly, furious at herself for needing them. Yet as the sweet taste filled her mouth, she felt a strange gratitude she dared not voice. Later, they moved deeper into the forest. Enya stumbled more than once, her fine boots sinking in the mud, her body unused to such terrain. Marcus offered his hand each time, but she batted it away with sharp glares. When she slipped badly on a slope and nearly fell into a stream, Marcus caught her wrist in a firm grip, pulling her back onto solid ground. She gasped, breathless, her pride snapping. I told you not to touch me. His eyes met hers, steady and calm. And if I hadn't, you'd be in the river. Outrage doesn't keep you alive. Her chest rose and fell quickly, fury and shame twisting inside her. Yet when he finally let go, the warmth of his hand lingered. As night fell, they built another fire in a sheltered hollow. The flames cast long shadows across the trees, flickering against Enya's pale skin. She sat with her knees drawn up, watching Marcus cook the roots they'd gathered. The smell was sharp, earthy. Tell me, she said suddenly, her voice quieter than before. Why do you not treat me as spoils of war? Any other victor would. Marcus poked the fire, his expression unreadable. Because I'm not here to own you. I'm here to live, and maybe to show you there's another way. Live, and maybe to show you there's another way. Her breath caught. Another way? He looked at her directly, his eyes steady. Not every fight has to end in chains. Sometimes it can end in choice. Her heart twisted. The word choice was dangerous. It meant freedom, something she had never been truly offered. That night, as the fire dimmed, Enya lay awake, staring at the stars peeking through the canopy. Her people had warned her humans were monsters. Yet this man again and again treated her as if she mattered. Her pride still screamed that it was a trick. But another voice, quiet and fragile, whispered, "What if it isn't?" For the first time she turned toward Marcus as he slept, her violet eyes softening. Not captor, not enemy, not yet friend, but perhaps companion. The forest grew quieter the deeper they traveled, and that silence unsettled Marcus. Birds no longer called. The rustle of small creatures was gone. The air was heavy, tense, as if the trees themselves held their breath. Enya noticed too. "Something stalks us," she whispered, her hand brushing the bark of a tree, feeling vibrations in the wood. Her people were hunters. She knew the signs. Marcus's grip tightened on his knife. "Stay close." She almost snapped back, her pride refusing to be treated like a child. But the weight of the silence made her hold her tongue. She walked at his side, every muscle taut. By nightfall, they found another cave, smaller than the last. Marcus built a fire at the entrance, his jaw tight. Enya sat opposite, her eyes scanning the tree line. The first growl came when the fire was low. Deep, rumbling like stone grinding against stone. Enya's blood ran cold. From the shadows, a creature emerged, massive, fur-bristling, eyes glowing amber. Its fangs gleamed in the firelight. A predator of the wild, drawn by the scent of fire and food. Marcus stood instantly, knife ready. "Stay behind me." Enya rose too, grabbing a sharp branch from the fire. The heat burned her hands, but she held it firm. "I will not cower." The beast lunged. Marcus met its charge, slashing at its flank. The knife cut deep, but the creature's bulk slammed him to the ground. He grunted, wrestling against claws that raked across his armor. Enya's chest seized. Instinct screamed to run, but something stronger pulled her forward. With a cry, she drove the burning branch into the beast's side. The smell of scorched fur filled the air. The creature roared, whipping toward her. Its claws swiped, catching her across the arm. Pain seared, but she didn't drop the branch. She thrust again, forcing it back. Marcus surged to his feet, his knife flashing. Together, human and alien struck in unison, his blade plunging into its chest as her burning branch jammed deep into its maw. The beast collapsed with a final shudder, smoke curling from its mouth. Breathing hard, Enya dropped the branch. Blood dripped from the gash in her arm. Marcus turned, his face etched with worry. "You're hurt," she scoffed, though her voice shook. "A scratch." He reached for her arm. "Let me see." Her pride flared, ready to snap, but the fire in her wound stole her strength. She let him take her arm, his rough hand surprisingly gentle as he tore cloth from his sleeve and bound the cut. "You saved me," he said quietly, not looking up. The words caught her off guard. "I acted as any warrior would." "No." His gaze lifted, steady and unflinching. "You acted as someone who chose me over yourself." Her breath caught. The truth in his eyes unnerved her more than the beast ever could. They sat by the fire afterward, the beast's carcass cooling outside the cave. Enya's arm throbbed, but her mind raced faster than the pain. Her people had told her humans were selfish, driven only by survival. Yet Marcus had shielded her again and again. And tonight she had done the same for him. She whispered into the flames, almost too softly to hear. "Perhaps not all chains are placed by others. Some we forge ourselves." Marcus glanced at her, brow furrowed. "What do you mean?" She met his eyes, violet against his earthy brown. "I was taught to hate you before I ever saw you. That hate was my chain. And tonight, for the first time, I fought not to keep it, but to break it." The fire crackled between them. Marcus said nothing, but his gaze lingered, warm and steady. For the first time, Enya did not look away. That night, she lay close to the fire, her injured arm resting on the cloak he had given her. Sleep came slowly, but with it a strange peace. She realized something startling. She no longer feared that Marcus might one day slay her. Instead, she feared what it would mean if he left her alive, and she could no longer return to who she had been. The forest began to thin after days of travel. The heavy canopy broke, letting sunlight pour across rolling hills. For the first time, Enya could see far into the distance, smoke rising from a settlement nestled between cliffs. Marcus slowed, scanning the horizon. "That's not raiders' smoke. Looks like a refugee camp." Her chest tightened. Refugees. Survivors from both sides, perhaps even her own kind. Her heart yearned to see them, to hear her language again, to feel the familiar weight of home. But the thought brought no comfort. Instead, unease coiled in her stomach. because now she was not the same warrior who had knelt in chains, ready to die, and she was not sure her people would forgive what she had become. They approached the camp cautiously. At first, children ran to greet them, thin, weary, but alive. Behind them, guards raised weapons, their eyes wary as they recognized Marcus's human armor. "Hold!" one barked. "A human?" Marcus froze, lifting his hand slowly. "I'm not here to fight. We're survivors." Enya stepped forward instinctively, placing herself between him and the guards. The movement shocked even her, but she did not step back. The guard's eyes narrowed. "Enya?" one whispered in disbelief. "Highborn of Kelith? You live?" Her throat tightened. She nodded once. "I live." Whispers rippled through the camp. Her people gathered, staring at her torn robes, at the human standing close behind her. Disbelief turned to outrage. "You walk beside the enemy?" An elder hissed. "You should have struck him down." Enya's pride roared inside her. She should have spat back, should have raised her chin and declared herself pure. That was what the old Enya would have done. But she remembered Marcus's hand steadying her when she slipped, his body shielding hers from blades, his voice telling her that choice, not chains, was freedom. Her violet eyes swept the crowd. "This human spared me when he had no reason. He gave me food when I would have starved. He bound my wounds when beasts tore at my flesh. He stood when others would have fled." The crowd gasped, their shock twisting into anger. "You defend him?" the elder snarled. "He is the reason our kin lie in graves." Marcus's jaw tightened, but he stayed silent. His eyes met hers, calm as ever. He would not speak for himself. He would let her choose. Enya's chest heaved. Every instinct screamed to renounce him, to save herself, to return to the safety of her people's hatred. But the words would not come because they were lies. She stepped closer to Marcus, her voice rising. "Yes, many fell by human hands, but many fell by ours as well. Blood answers only to blood. If I had died that day, my name would already be forgotten. Instead, he gave me a chance to see another way." The camp erupted in shouts. Some cursed her name. Others stared in silence, uncertain. The elder's eyes burned. "Then you are no daughter of Kelith. You are tainted." The word cut deep, tainted, impure, cast out. Enya's throat trembled, but she stood tall. "If mercy taints me, then I embrace it. If choosing life makes me impure, then I will never be clean again." Silence fell heavy over the camp. Children peered from behind their mothers, wide-eyed. Warriors shifted uneasily, uncertain whether to draw blades. Marcus finally spoke, his voice steady. "We didn't come here to fight. We came for shelter. But if you can't give it, we'll move on." He turned to leave, but Enya reached for his hand. For the first time, she didn't flinch at the touch. Her fingers closed firmly around his. Her people gasped. She met their eyes, her voice ringing clear. "I will not walk the path of hate. I will walk with him." The elder spat into the dirt. "Then you are lost to us." The words should have broken her. But as Enya stood there, Marcus's hand steady in hers, she realized she no longer felt lost. She felt free. That night they camped outside the settlement, alone once more. The fire flickered between them and the stars stretched wide overhead. Enya sat quietly, staring into the flames. Finally, she whispered, "Today I chose you over my people." Marcus watched her, his expression unreadable. "And do you regret it?" She shook her head slowly. "No, only that it took me so long." Her violet eyes lifted to his, shimmering in the firelight. For once there was no pride, no scorn, no chains, only choice. The days after the confrontation at the refugee camp were heavy with silence. Enya and Marcus traveled farther into the wilds, skirting the edges of battlefronts, always moving toward the promise of safer ground. Yet something had changed. Yet something had changed. No longer did Enya trail behind with scorn in her eyes. No longer did she flinch when Marcus's hand brushed hers. Now she walked beside him, her steps steady, her head held high, but not in defiance. In resolve. The old Enya had been highborn, chained by pride and poisoned truths. The new Enya was something else entirely, and she owed it to the man who had once lifted a blade to her throat, then chosen to lower it. One night, as the fire flickered between them, Enya finally asked the question that had haunted her since the battlefield. Why? Her voice was soft, but it trembled with the weight of everything unspoken. "Why did you not kill me that day?" Marcus sat quiet for a long time, staring into the flames. Finally he answered, Because I've seen enough death. And I knew if I killed you, nothing would change. But if I spared you, maybe something could. Her violet eyes shimmered in the firelight. And now you see me walk against my people, hated, cast out. Was it worth it? His gaze lifted, steady and unshakable. Yes, because you're still here. And because you chose, the fire crackled between them. For the first time, Enya smiled. Not cold, not mocking, but real. Fragile and new, like dawn breaking, weeks turned into months. Word began to spread across the borderlands of the war. Stories of a highborn Kelith maiden walking beside a human soldier. Stories of raids broken not by blades, but by strange alliances where enemies laid down weapons rather than spill more blood. At first, the tales were dismissed as lies, but then came sightings, witnesses, villagers who swore they had seen the alien and the human speaking to both sides, urging them to spare the young, to heal the wounded, to bury the dead with honor. The whispers grew into something more dangerous than hate. Hope. One evening, they arrived at another settlement, one divided between human and alien survivors. Tension crackled like dry tinder. A single spark could have ignited slaughter. Enya stepped forward, her voice ringing clear. Enough! Dozens of eyes turned to her, some filled with loathing, others with disbelief. You call me traitor, she said, her chin lifting. You call me tainted. Perhaps I am. But I have seen the truth you refuse to see. The human who should have slain me chose instead to save me. And I, who was raised to despise him, chose to stand at his side. If we can do this, then so can you. The crowd stirred uneasily. Marcus stepped beside her, his voice steady. We're not asking you to forget the blood spilled. We're asking you to stop spilling more, to choose something harder, to choose life. The silence was deep, but it was not empty. In that silence, something shifted. That night, the two of them lay under the stars, listening to the faint hum of uneasy voices in the camp. Enya turned toward Marcus, her hand brushing his. You gave me choice when no one else ever did, she whispered. Marcus squeezed her hand gently. And you proved I was right to. Her chest ached, not with pride, not with chains, but with something far more terrifying. Trust. And maybe, just maybe, love. The war did not end overnight, but the story of the maiden and the human spread farther with each passing season. It was told in hushed voices around campfires, carried by refugees across stars, whispered even in the halls of power. And though many cursed their names, many more began to wonder. If a human could spare a Kelith, if a Kelith could stand beside a human, then perhaps the galaxy itself was not doomed to endless blood. When dawn rose, Marcus and Enya set out again, their shadows long on the road ahead. They did not know if their story would be remembered as betrayal or salvation. But they knew this. What began with a blade that never fell had become something greater, a choice, a bond, a beginning.